we are going to get you to learn the basics of Adobe Illustrator and get you starting to design stuff, get you learning how you could start laser cutting, laser etching, and even use the CNC machine with Adobe Illustrator. Now, Adobe Illustrator, super awesome, very powerful program. This program is used for a variety of things. This is a professional, a program used by professionals, especially in graphic design. We can use Adobe Illustrator to design logos, posters, stuff that go on websites, all kinds of different images. So it's definitely used professionally for that, and that's how this was designed. And then we can definitely use the laser cutter to cut out thin pieces of wood, thin pieces of plexiglass. We can also use the laser to etch on these surfaces. So you can see that the etching means kind of like burning on there. So that stuff is burned on there. We can burn images onto wood, onto plexiglass, all kinds of other surfaces as well. So what I need you to do right now is I need you to be viewing this lesson on your Chromebook, and then I need you on our Design Lab computer following along. So what's going to happen is you're going to have two computers open. You're going to be watching the lesson, pause every once in a while. If I'm talking too fast, going too fast, we'll just backtrack and try that part again that I was just showing. And I need you performing exactly what I'm doing on the Design Lab computer, and you're going to show me that you successfully did that, so then I know that you completed the practice and that you understand the basics and you got that. And it's just a good way for you to learn, instead of just sitting there listening to me, but you actually doing it, performing it. So I hope you're excited. We have 6 different stages. Stage 1 is just some very basic getting set up type stuff. Stage 2 is how do we put like text or like font type words, stuff onto, like, let's say surfaces that we want to laser etch. Laser etching images is stage 3, being like, let's say we want to cut out the outside of an image. That would be stage 4. Stage 5, we get into more like just basic drawing, shape type stuff, which ultimately would allow us to learn how to draw logos, that kind of stuff. And then more precision type drawing, like if we want to start doing like puzzle pieces and slots and like making all that stuff go together. So that's our different stages. And then we'll basically, just a heads up, like if you don't need to know how to do these slots and you're not having to do something like this, well, I'm not going to have you go all the way to stage 6. We're just going to have you go. So if you're just putting words, on a piece of wood, all you need is stage 1 and 2. So anyway, let's get started. Click your Windows icon. So make sure you have your Design Lab computer open right now. Click that Windows icon, scroll down, find Adobe Illustrator logo, click that, and open it up. In stage 1, we already talked a little bit about what is Adobe Illustrator used for. We showed you how to open the program. What can go in the laser cutter? Again, for most of us, we're going to be using laser, so what kind of stuff can go in there? If your project is assembled, if you're making some sort of huge condo and it's already assembled, well, that's not going to fit in our laser cutter. Our laser cutter, it can fit 24 by 18 inches, and there's a decent amount of depth. We can change the depth. So 24 by 18 inches is what can go in the laser cutter. The CNC machine, so if you're instead using the CNC machine, something that's 28 by 28 inches. That's about as big as we can go in the CNC machine. But we have, of course, different thin types of piece of wood. So 1/8 inch thick wood, the laser can cut through 1/8 inch thick wood, and it can of course etch on all kinds of different woods. And we can cut through 1/8 inch thick plexiglass. We can go up to 1/4 inch thick plexiglass, but pretty much everything that we have is 1/8 inch thick plexiglass. We can of course cut through cardboard and so on, but we can etch on a lot of stuff, cut through kind of thinner type stuff. But for most of us, what you're probably doing is you're probably putting like a board like this, something like this, in the laser, and you want like a word on there, image on there, or something like that. That's what a lot of us are doing. So that kind of stuff, like a plain board, we can definitely do that. If your project is already assembled, you could, let's say, cut out like a nameplate or a board and then glue it on your project. So please, 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 please do not just go putting stuff in the laser without permission. Anybody that's putting something in the laser, you need to show me what it is. I have to see it before you put it in there and make sure, because it's like a focus thing and stuff moves around. We don't want to damage the laser or any of our equipment. Some of that stuff's pretty expensive. So anyway, now that we have Adobe Illustrator opened, let me show you how to get started. So you I click File, New, you're gonna have a window that looks like this. If it's forcing you to choose one of these, just choose Print. Most of the time you can, I don't know, but just choose Print. And then you might have to, so now you gotta do some thinking. Okay, what are you gonna choose for the size of your canvas, the size of your page? If you're putting in a piece of wood in the laser and gonna like put a word on there, image or something like that, then your size that you type in here should be the size of the piece of wood. So let's say this is 12 inches by 12 inches. So then I would type in 12 by 12, but make sure that this unit here is on inches. Get it off of points. It shouldn't be on pixels. Make sure it's on inches, and then type in your number. If you're making something like this and you don't know how big of an area you need, like let's say you disassembled all of this and you laid it out flat, okay, well, how much area does that take up? Well, then just do the size of the laser cutter. So then you just type in 24 by 18. But again, if you know your size of your piece of wood that you're going to be putting in there or whatever, plexiglass, make sure you put in the actual size of that object. So then you click create, and then that will get it loaded up. So you're going to get something like this. Next thing I want you to do, because we want to be precise. We shouldn't just be eyeballing stuff. So in order to be precise, we want to turn on a grid. So I click View, and I click Show Grid. So I want you to get to this point right now. We got a white area, and then we got our grid on. Push Control plus to zoom in. So again, I push Control plus to zoom in, and then I can move up and down with the mouse wheel, and then I can click and drag this bar here to slide left and right. And then one thing I want you to see here, and this can help you determine, okay, let's zoom out as well. So here's how you zoom out, Control minus. So I want you to try that too. Just try moving around a little bit. I have 12 squares going this way, and I have 12 squares going that way. So that will help me like see and just confirm what is the size of my canvas. And one of these big squares, that's 1 inch. So that's why I have 12 going left and 12 going up and down. So one of these big squares is 12 inch. That means each little square, there's 8 of them. So that means each little square is an eighth. Depending on what you're doing, that might be important. If we're trying to be really precise, that will be important. Okay, so now we got our grid on, we got our space we're gonna play with. Saving is incredibly important. This program does not automatically save for you, and I do not want you saving to the computer you're working on right now, because if you work on a different computer, you won't be able to access that file. So here's the proper way to save. I need you to save properly, so follow along with me. Click File, Save As. And then once you click File, Save As, you're in that over here, you're going to click and drag that bar and find OneDrive. Find your OneDrive. The OneDrive is saving on the cloud that you can access it on any computer. So I click File, Save As, OneDrive, type your file name, use something smart if you just want to call this practice or whatever, and then you just click Save. Congratulations, you have survived stage 1.